You are Locked On Cougs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's show is brought to you by our buddies over at FanDuel, because August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live bold and want to live for bold predictions and preseason hunches for just 24 hours. FanDuel's giving you NFL prediction deals, all kinds of deals, NFL season prediction odds. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing your long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. If you're big on CJ Stroud this season, get it on FanDuel Futures Day. If you're big on the Texans winning the South, get it on FanDuel Futures Day. If you are the contrarian and say, hey, Houston's not, go do it on FanDuel Futures Day. Parlay your division winner dark horses all together and get in on the action. Visit FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Parker Ainsworth, Locked On Coogs here. And look, we explored a couple times here in the offseason, and the offseason's wrapped up now because it's game week, but that Houston needs that Big 12 rival. And part of this was taken from us, and the Southwest Conference fell apart, and Houston didn't get to make the jump, didn't get to go get a rival, right? That's the way it happened. Some of those rivals left or whatever, and da-da-da. And I think I found one. And that one is West Virginia. Look, I think that part of the fun here would be, bluntly, the epitome of culture war between Houston and West Virginia in a rivalry game, right? Rural Appalachia, I said that horribly, Appalachia, versus Houston, big city, bayou, right? Like, both weirdly get called dangerous online. Apparently, there's a fake video going around about West Virginia being dangerous, and I think the dangers of Houston get way overblown for a lot of reasons. But those are, I guess, something that the fakeness of it, whatever, right? But you have the opposite ends of the college type of experience between going to school in the city of Houston, going to school out in West Virginia. Both are schools that lean on history. West Virginia did dominate that final decade of the Big East, but Houston did really well in the 70s and 80s in Southwest Conference too. And while that Big East iteration of West Virginia is more recent, I think that they're comparable in terms of how dominant those stretches were. Yes, West Virginia has other rivals, and I guess technically Cincinnati is listed as one in some places and is now a Big 12 team, but West Virginia is completely dominant in football for a long time. And when West Virginia went to the Big 12 almost 15 years ago at this point and left Cincinnati behind, it kind of killed that rivalry in a lot of ways, right? The other rivals West Virginia has, Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, those are not Big 12 schools, at least not yet. And I would love to add them, but they're not yet, right? So West Virginia kind of has to go out of the conference for its own rivalries. And to their credit, they've been able to do that for a long time now, right? However, Houston is the perfect rival for West Virginia because of that back and forth, because Houston's also not a legacy member. It hadn't been in the conference as long as West Virginia, but it's not a legacy member. And for what it's worth, we've all seen Houston, when they were not a Big 12 team, go out of their way to play Tech, to play Kansas, to play Big 12 schools when they would let us play them. And that's a big, big deal. Right now, I do think, whatever you think about them, a lot of this rivalry in football would stem around the Dana Holgorsen Bowl. And listen, Houston, if you are new to the story, air quotes, stole him, depending on who you ask, from West Virginia in 2019. They had a chance of going 10-2 and winning the Big 12 that season. He kind of folded it in those last couple games at West Virginia. They missed the Big 12 title game. Now, people at West Virginia would say he really folded it in. People in Dana Holgorsen's camp would tell you they just weren't good enough, whatever. But they finished 8-4. They could have gone 10-2 and won the conference. And so after that, he dips out for the Houston job, which at the time was a Group 5 job. And that really turned a lot of heads in a lot of ways. And look, I know I was not as low on him as others were throughout his tenure at Houston. And frankly, I am not ashamed to say when Houston got him in 2019, got rid of Major Applewhite, I was like, this is things moving in the right direction, right? Like you take a Big 12 coach, you take a guy that brings back the memories of Case Keenum. Like it felt like the right thing. And so maybe that's why I stuck around with it too long. As far as being, I don't ever think I got as low on him as some people did. And I'm fully transparent on that. There were people much lower on him than I was. He did upset me with a couple things. His comments on recruiting or his post-game comments about after Central Florida and Cincinnati about not being in the same league as them. And I was like, but y'all both came over from the American together. Why are we so far behind? Like those things did upset me. And I still think I've held on longer than most, but whatever. Dana Holgorsen coached at both schools and frankly kind of hung it up too early. Like just kind of throwing the towel too early at both schools. And so I think that both schools could kind of feel that vibe a little bit on it. For what it's worth, the only meeting between the two was that 2023 game in which Dana Holgorsen coached to a Hail Mary victory over West Virginia. And West Virginia thought they'd won the game, and then the quarterback Garrett Green throwing his helmet up in the air celebrating because they thought they won the game with about a minute left. Him throwing his helmet up in the air cost them with a penalty. That yardage ultimately helped Houston seal the one of the Hail Mary to Stephon Boogie Johnson to win the game in walk-off fashion. And right now, like I can tell you for a fact, they're bitter about that still at West Virginia. They still feel upset about that because going into that game, all the talk was on his way out of West Virginia, Dana Holgorsen said that you couldn't win with West Virginia players. That just wasn't the thing that was going to be possible. And they kind of felt like for those 12 game seconds or whatever it was, that they had proven him wrong. And then they kind of proved him right. Right. And so that back and forth is a big, big deal. There's also, historical basketball and Huggy Bear they've got, and Houston's got Guy Lewis. They also got Sampson, obviously, right now, and things like that. And they think they're on the right track. I like Ross Hodge. He's not horrible or anything. It is interesting to see where the programs are at in that sense. But in terms of a football rivalry, the two schools are both at the forefront of a rebuild, coming off of getting rid of a coach that just wasn't up to snuff. It's a good time. It's as good a time as any to start it. Both schools have history of being good. This isn't like picking schools at a random. I think that I would tout how historic Houston's successes are and how, they were at the forefront of integration of football in the South and things like that and whatever. But that's more me as the history teacher. I want to talk about those kinds of things as much as the rivalry here would come down to all the hype built into that one game that did involve Dana Holgorsen, and then Houston finding a way to win that game when it probably shouldn't have, and the laughing that ensued afterwards, I'm sure would play into this in a big, big way. I'm not saying that Holgorsen himself has to be the trophy. I do think that the country roads versus chopped and screwed or some version of the culture war in there would be a big fun part of it too, in the friendliest of ways. But tell me in the comments down below what you think. Now, last time we had a trivia question about conference titles. The Houston's won in whatever conference they were in. The answer was that they've won 11 different conference titles, 4 in the Missouri Valley, 4 in the Southwest Conference, 2 in Conference USA, and 1 in the American. I say and counting. Today's trivia question, so we'll answer this one tomorrow. Because Houston opens with an FCS school, the last time Houston played an FCS school was in 2019. And frankly, they scored 37 points, whatever. What they played Texas Southern. Who was the leading scorer for Houston in that football game? If you know the answer, tell us in the comments down below. Locked On Cougs, primer to Locked On Podcast Network. That means your team every day. Go Cougs.